Well, one of these weeks, I'm going to get caught looking like a dummy here in the background, John, because I start the video and then I'm like in the background, trying to retweet and post and do whatever. And then I
Right.
still don't know that dang intro music. So I keep I knew the old one. So I knew exactly like how long do I have to switch over. But anyway, here we are. Welcome, John. Lots to talk about today. UFL Week 9. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. It's like we had a couple good games here this past week, even though they don't really count for much. I mean, I guess they count for the final record, as we will see in Week 10. A lot of news going out there, or maybe news.
Maybe news. Yeah, lots to talk about today. UFL will talk through the games over the weekend. We had the delay game, the ESPN3 Ocho Plus. We can talk through all that stuff. We have trademark news here. Mark Perry with UFL News Hub. Lots of thoughts here I have on that. I tweeted out my findings on that involved with new trademarks and potential expansion or relocation. We will talk through all of that today. And then we have Mike Mitchell's Friday TV reports. We have attendance ratings and kind of everything else. We'll look ahead to the playoffs. How does that all sound there, John?
Sounds good, man. I'm ready for the return of the Oakland Invaders. I hear it's happening.
Yeah, we'll probably lead off with that here. We'll get to
Okay.
that in a second. We got Bra, another great show inbound. Denzel checking in here. Kaka to you all. Scott rejoining here. Becoming a member again. That's fair. I mean, I'm kind of rejoining the podcast off and on too. So if you need to step off and step back on the podcast, Scott, I get that. Yeah, and Abdul here. Mark Perry, very popular over the weekend. Yes. I guess we can talk through that first and foremost. I'll put that up, and I have the Pro Football Newsroom. We'll talk through the Michigan and kind of all that stuff as well. But this kind of shocked me going into I guess this was Saturday, right? It came out and Mark had this article here, exclusive, because the trademark data publicly searched online trademark databases, and that's private information, exclusive. UFL trademark filing signal potential expansion with 4 historic UFL franchises. And so Mark Perry, and we can go through all this, but he has a whole article up and you can check out, you can see, I've even perused this myself here, talking through, but notably Mark Perry through his research and the Oakland Invaders, Philadelphia Stars, New Jersey Generals, and Tampa Bay Bandits. Mark has noted recent trademark filing updates to all of those. I have my thoughts on all of that stuff, but this got a lot of people talking, right? We're getting near the end of the season, John, and we've been talking. Are we getting new cities? Are we getting expansion? All of this stuff. We've announced season ticket renewals. Is something coming at the championship game, kind of everything else. What did you make of this? Because this, as much as spring football news on the Saturday over Memorial Day weekend can make waves, this did make waves.
Yeah, it did. The first thing I thought was, maybe they are going to move toward this, or that they're going to, put these in their back pocket in case, Houston or Michigan or not Michigan, but Houston or Memphis need to relocate. And then those are your 2 expansion teams. That was the first thing that went in my mind. But then I thought, we've seen this play out before several times. One of the companies that's involved here has re-upped on some of these trademarks. Then I started thinking, well, some of you out there might have checked out the UFL.com. There's a place there on the shop called The Vault. And I thought, is this going to be a merchandise play now? Are they like really going to lean into, we're going to own these trademarks and start selling merchandise? Because there's actually some real stuff on there on The Vault, like game use stuff from the 2001 XFL. There's all kinds of things. So my mind went to 100 different directions. And then, this little bomb here drops.
Yeah, and so we've been I'm trying to pull up the vault here as we talk about this. Just so yes, and so you can kind of see all this. And this used to be housed, even there was like another site I kind of had my eyes on for a while, buy-in, or maybe it was like the XFL 2023 stuff. There was a site for a while that was holding, not on eBay, that was kind of holding some of this stuff. But that's interesting. Yeah. So they're conceivably, right, if the UFL is going to exist for, let's say, the next 5-10 years, you want to be able to sell all this stuff. And John, as a Commanders, Redskins, Washington fan, I know well aware of the debates right now about preserving historical and using all that stuff. Right. So is that where your mind went originally, or did it go to new cities and all of that?
No, I mean, the first thing I thought was there's a reason that they're doing this, and maybe it is, they're going to relocate. The math makes sense if you think about their plan. There's talk of relocating 2 teams. maybe Houston, Memphis. Some people say even Birmingham, and then adding two. So it's like, okay, maybe this is just these are placeholders for them to do this, and they've obviously done the research and they've tried this before. And as Mark Perry pointed out, these were things that were he talked about it about like the case or the trademarks were suspended, but then they re-upped. You know more about this than I do, but that this was like they wanted to get this done. So, to me, something was going on.
Yeah, it's been a long, and I used to it honestly. When I saw this Saturday, we had something going on, and I ended up catching up a lot of the games on Saturday afternoon and then Sunday with the kind of the delay, and we can talk through all that with the IndyCar. I bet that I wish that was out today. That Sunday ABC game. I wish that I was just thinking about that because I thought that would have been live today with the holiday. I think that will be, quote, the highest spring football game watched in the last whatever, if they can get that overrun timed out right. But anyway, I saw the article come out and I thought, well, that's cute. Like, and not being dismissive, I used to kind of really look at all that stuff too. When I was doing the podcast every week and, we'd have to fill an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm like, who the hell am I going to talk to? Okay. Like, looks like they made an update on the Canton Gold. Okay, let's call Paul Reese and come on. Anyway, I was just kind of looking at it for all that. And anyway, so then I finally get down today and I'm like, all right, we need to talk about this today on the show and kind of all this stuff. I want to get to also this whole, like, are we expanding this year? But in terms of Mark's story, and I haven't heard back from him. I posted and tagged him and all that. So I did my research today. I went on because Mark did all the stuff and looked at all the, and I have all the browsers saved and all of that stuff. But if you go on, you can look for all of these new trademarks for the New Jersey Generals, for the Oakland Invaders, for the Philadelphia Stars, and the Tampa Bay Bandits. And when you filter out, because all of these trademarks have been owned like off and on throughout the years. Brian Woods picked up a lot of these back throughout his spring league things. And we would kind of remember the Generals were kind of with the spring league and we kind of had other things. And we were talking about all that stuff. Fox brings in Brian Woods. They get control of all of that stuff. So that's when I kind of gave up the like searching the minutia day in of day out. But when I go on today, this is what I saw. So I did the research. They usually looking at the trademarks. The work that I saw that was done on May 6th for all four of these, and I have the screenshots of the three, and then the one showing what they did. 2 classes were filed each by USFL Enterprises. There's kind of a mishmash of holding groups, and that might be part of it as well because the XFL owns some of this stuff, and then the USFL, and they've kind of rebranded. They were the NSFL, and then they were the UFL now. Anyway, 2 amounts. You can see $700 here paid for 2 classes for the Generals, $700 paid for the Bandits, for the Invaders, and then the other team, the Stars, is there as well. And they were adding international classes for notably board games and stickers, bumper stickers, mostly related to football. That is what I saw on that. So do I view that on Tuesday, May 27th, that one of those 4 franchises is likely to return? I don't feel any more or less because of any of these trademark filings. Do you feel different now, or any questions on any of my homework?
No, because remember there was the trademark. What was the Nashville team? I can't remember what it was called. There was that. The Tuners. That was it. The Tuners.
The Tuners.
There was the Aviators. There was, there was the Canton, or there was Bulldogs. I can't remember if it was Canton Bulldogs or not. But I always thought the NFL owned that trademark. I don't know. But no, I mean, I think I'm with you, and it's someone in the chat also pointed out too. It's like it's the kill switch. I mean, it makes sense. It's like I was trying to articulate that. Yeah, this might be something we're going to keep these in our back pockets, just so we own these franchises, we own these names, and maybe there's an opportunity where we might, or a situation where we have to break them out. I hope that's not the case, because you don't want to be that, we're going to break this out in case of emergency. And you've got like, Oakland. I don't think you can do that in a place like that. I mean, if you're going to move these franchises or open new franchises, you have to go into the markets that want them, and you got to really do a lot of forethought. And I would hope the UFL, has done that. Maybe we're reading too much into this too.
Well, what kills me about all this, and you can search on and do all that stuff, and yeah, they own, and John and I think have even done this on the weekly show, but we've done this over the summer and looked, and I mean, they own a combination of so many different ones. And when you look here at the thing, you know, where it's and I've lost I'm in the vault here, you know, where it's like the $700 for the like, that doesn't mean like Apple owns billions and billions and billions of all these, you know, trademarks
Sure.
and patents and all that stuff. To me, like even just the greater kind of thought about this, and I think Mike was saying in the chat, Danny was on talking about all their IPs or something. I didn't see that, but you know, they brag about all this. It goes back to my problem from the beginning with all of this. When they asked Daryl back with the USFL, like, why'd you pick these 8 markets? And he goes, well, these were the trademarks we owned. We wanted to use them. And I'm like, that's a terrible way to decide where to put a football team. So yeah, like, because now I think the only one that could potentially work would be the Generals, and you would just get the pop out of that because of Trump and the president. Yeah. Like, I could imagine all of that, John. I just don't need that in my football life. I don't need Trump involved in the UFL.
More red merchandise, you could totally get that.
More red, but you know, like some of the, I don't think the Stars. I think like whatever pop you got on like the activations of these franchises, I think we got back in 22, and they totally botched that, right? Because the lawsuit, and we couldn't promote everything. Right. Then they got that cleared away, and now we never got that, right? We never got the like. Now it's the USFL is back. It's all together. And I don't imagine there's like a contingent in Philadelphia that's like waiting for the Stars activation here in 2025. Like, oh, we've been holding on, you know?
Right. Oh, they're coming back. And yeah, although they kind of had them, but kind of didn't. Mm-hmm. You know, also kind of cross. I mean, this is all speculation, of course, because that's what we do. But, you know, part of it could be, I also wonder too if there might have been some other entities out there that wanted to use those trademarks, because we know that a lot of the USFL, a lot of the copyrights and trademarks, you know, lapsed when the league folded. That's why if you watch a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s and someone's watching a football game, it's always a USFL game because all those copyrights just disappeared. But, you know, I do wonder if there's some of that, because I believe there's an indoor football team in San Antonio that calls themselves the Gunslingers. So I don't know if it was, maybe they're trying to protect those for another reason too, but you know, I mean, we could speculate about 100 different situations that they were using for that.
Yeah, here, just real quick. So I just searched here. Here's USFL owner. I mean, this is all the.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
and I mean, this is 222. And then if you look here, you know, I don't even know if anything's, you know, and they're still transferring stuff over. So I mean, it's just not. Anyway, to the thought of the expansion, though. Oh, and just when you talk about the rights being, I still always love that movie, The Seventh Day, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where you know it's this futuristic sci-fi world where the XFL is the premier football league, and they're getting paid like $500 million.
Oh yeah, right.
And the quarterback dies, and they have to clone him because there's so much money in the. I mean, this is the first. If you want to go look up The Seventh Day, first 5 minutes of the movie, the guy breaks his neck, and they're like, "Well, we got to clone him. We just signed him to this deal." Wild. I really like that. But because of this, and because of the expansion, and because we are at week 9, and we have articles like Mike Florio here talking about, you know, with 2,000 fans, and you know, obviously crediting Mike Mitchell, we appreciate that, Mike Florio, and all of that. There seems to be a lot of talk right now. What do you think? I mean, is this just because we're at the end of the season? Because we're kind of we have 2 seasons worth kind of data over this. Like, what do you make of all this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of. I will say Mike Florio before has treated the UFL and has covered it seriously. You know, positively and negatively. I never did see anything that was super unfair, but that's true. But I think. Yeah, I think there's a lot of speculation, because I think there's a lot of talk about what's going on, and maybe this has gotten a little more attention here toward the end as they kind of ramp up going toward the playoffs. You know, in certain circles. I'm not saying nationally. I don't think that's the case yet. But yeah, I think it's, you know, it's a football site, and we're in a click-based economy now, and journalism is very much, you know, different than it was in the past. when we practiced it.
Well, the practice of journalistic standards. I already got yelled at once here this last month for talking about that. I do like this comment from Darren here real quick, and I have something else. Have fans in Houston and Memphis figured out that the season ticket presale is a test to measure fan interest? Are they clueless, thinking both are guaranteed? I like that. I mean, we haven't even talked that much about that, but I love that it's like, let's see how many people are wanting to come back on that. I will say, when you have articles like this here, with Mr. Florio and all, who's actually really nice. I mean, he always responds to all my emails. I don't think Mark Perry likes Mark Florio, if that makes him feel any better or not. But like articles like that, and then when you hear about expansion or relocation, it doesn't feel like the UFL is coming from a position of strength, right? Then I would feel like, oh, we're expanding or relocating, right? Because we need more fans or more money or whatever. So to me, it's hard to do both like that and feel like you're expanding or relocating, except just to kind of scurry to find more fans wherever they are.
Right. And I, Mike Florio he's old like the rest of us, and he remembers how many of these spring leagues. I was talking to somebody today. I had released a video and we were talking about Memphis kind of in the comments there. And it's like, it's amazing how many flirtations with pro football that Memphis has. And the bottom line is they've been burnt by every one of them. So a lot of us remember all these spring leagues that have come and go. And frankly, I mean, we've seen a few just in the last, 5 years, 6 years. I remember back in 2001, I think it was the third week of the season, there was an article on ESPN.com, back when you had to wind up your computer to get it, that was the XFL people were publicly talking about going to Washington, D.C. and some other places to look at potential expansion cities. So I think, Mike Florio, again, to my point, is like, he's, old like us, and he just remembers. We've seen this movie before, and it ends the same way. And there are some people that have said that they think Memphis is not going to go anywhere because of the FedEx and Fred, Smith connection. And I'm just not seeing that, because unless they start to sell these franchises and Fred Smith and Tom Brady and whoever else, and these, John Gruden and whoever else they want to bring into this, unless these guys actually do this, there's going to have to be some change. And there are a lot of people who say that, they think change would hurt the league. I don't know that you can have 2,000 people show up for a game and say, we can't, we'll leave that alone.
Yeah. And even, it does feel like even Mark, and from looking at his Twitter today to get the article so I could read the article to talk about all that stuff, he was even like, it feels like everyone's kind of over Memphis on this, but I don't know. And I want to make sure we talk about this Tom Brady and the owners and all of that. But to your point, when we're talking through the sale and all of this, when you're looking here, Houston, Memphis, Birmingham, like what I don't know what and I've said this before, I don't know what you're buying. And not to harp on all of this stuff, but we're having this conversation right now. I don't know if Fred Smith or Jack Smith or Debbie Smith or anyone wants 2,000 people. And you're not buying anything at that point unless you're able to say, well, shoot, I get 10% of all the Memphis Showboats gear that we're selling in the vault. But even that, like, do I care? Like, I don't know. I watch Shark Tank a lot. Like, where am I getting my money back, John? Like, I bought a Showboat. Where am I getting it back?
Well, you're right. Like, what are you buying if you are an owner? And yes, Abdul, I did see your comment about parking, because it would have been amazing parking. I would have gotten in Memphis for 2,000 people, which there's no way there was 2,000 people there. No, I don't want to pick on Memphis, but I'm just saying that when you start to see this in the community, why would you say, first of all, what am I buying? And also, are people in my community going to show up just because I'm the owner? I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. I don't know, unless there are owners out there who think, or potential owners who think, I'm the guy who can turn this around. And I hope there are. I hope there are 8 out there. I hope there are 10 out there. But I don't know when you start to see these. And if they get the actual attendance numbers, I mean, we know that it's not going to be what those are. So they got to open the books. I would love to see the open books on the entire league and some of these teams.
Yeah, you talk about this, like, if someone can sit there and think, like, well, can I do better? To me, it's hard when to be an owner of any of these, and you look and you go, Jesus, like you've got Fox and ESPN and Redbird and Danny Garcia and The Rock and the FedEx guy and all every TV. I'm like, you still can't, like, what the hell am I going to do? I mean, that's almost like what I would look at it like, because I don't know what, and not to say it's not an impossibility, but I don't think that when ownership, I don't think understands how to sell their league besides just like, this is just more of what you watch in the fall. I don't know. And I was even getting into that, I think, over the weekend with just like, sequelitis and all these reboots and kind of everything. I'm like, well, here, we just put it on, like people watch it. And it's like, well, no, you actually need to, you need to give people a reason to want to. Oh, that's what it was. It was the whole Emery Hunt thing this morning. That's what it was. And it was where he was like, and I love Emery, but he's like, you don't love football unless you watch every pro league like I do. And you're like, that's not a selling point to the UFL. This is for the hardcores of no, this should be like, hey, Mom, Sue Johnson, you watch football every day during college and the NFL. Why doesn't my mom watch the UFL?
Yeah.
I mean, that is what they need to decide.
There is a hardcore group of fans that are watching the UFL. I mean, and they're also probably watching this podcast right now, or will watch it later. That's the problem. Maybe. Yeah, right. Because we're so negative about everything. I understand that. But I mean, but seriously, there is good play. There are good stories. There are things to sell with this league. But you're right. It's like you have to get out of the, you have to get out of the hardcore sickos like us. And we need to get your mom to watch. We need to get all these other people to watch, because there are people, and I've said this before, and it continues to happen. There are people that I know, because I worked in sports television for 30 years, and I have a lot of friends, and they always, of course, make fun of me for watching, as they, say like bootleg football or whatever. And I'm like, no, this is real football. You should watch it. They still don't know the name of the league. And these are people who work in sports broadcasting. So, I mean, that's just telling you, like, there needs to be something to start, spreading the word a little bit more somehow. I mean, we've talked about this over and over, but you're right, to the point of ownership. If you're an owner, what are you buying right now?
So, and we'll do a few more minutes on this, because I want to touch on the Tom Brady. We'll do the games, I promise. We'll look I promise all that stuff. This is the hot button, so just stick around. We'll do all that stuff. Abdul here has, the problem is we haven't seen true valuation. Someone hasn't done. I will say, when Ben Fisher was on, like 2 years ago, when he like cracked his head open, he had a bandage on. I think he did. We kind of talked through the MLS evaluation on that. So if you want to go back and deep dive, Ben Fisher, but this was what made me laugh. Get Oliver Luck and the Banana Guys on. Right. John, they're selling 70,000 people to go watch, like, in Raymond James Stadium, where they played football for the XFL played there, right? Yep. The back, and then the 2020, whatever. Right. They had 70,000 people there. And I'm sorry, like, I know the Savannah Bananas, but they're like a Harlem Globetrotter. I mean, the games don't really matter, is my point.
No,
like, they're playing, and it's fun and it's good to do, but the games don't really matter even. And like, they're still getting 70,000.
They played here at our minor league stadium here in Louisville, and I mean, the tickets were gone. People were standing in line to get tickets. I mean, the day they opened the box office, not the day of the game. So yeah, I mean, you're right. And Oliver Luck, I mean, you talk to him. I don't know. I just wonder if he would ever want to get involved with spring football after, such the bad experience that he had. And I thought that I thought he was a great commissioner for the short time he was the commissioner of the XFL.
Yeah, if anyone wants to go back, a great interview we did at the end of last year after the UFL, season 1 wrapped, and talking with Oliver Luck, courtesy of Sam Schwartzstein. And I would just say, I think Oliver's advice would be like, this is really hard. And I think it's harder than anyone that's involved right now probably get, or maybe they know now, but I think, like, this is so much harder than I think anyone getting into the space realizes. I wanted to get your thoughts. One of the things Mark had in the article was talking about this potential of a Tom Brady, Tampa Bay thing. To me, I've lived, and I still don't understand how he owns whatever percentage of the Raiders and how he's been able to do Fox and go to the combine. I don't understand how all of that works. I can't in my life imagine that he then also is like, well, I need to own the Tampa Bay UFL franchise. I don't believe that at all. But what do you, curious your thoughts?
All right. let's suppose this is true. Why would this be true? Well, Fox is paying Tom Brady hundreds of millions of dollars to do, what he's doing.
$350 million over 10 years, I believe. Right. I think it's 35 a year.
So as Abdul pointed out, we don't know what the valuations on these teams are, but he works for Fox. He worked with the very upper levels of Fox with Eric Shanks and above, probably had lunch with Rupert Murdoch a couple of times. So if there was something to this, I can see where Fox says, hey, listen, we need to franchise these teams. This is our plan. Would you do this, as a friend to Fox? And it would certainly give you immediate name recognition. If Tom Brady is out there talking about the UFL, in addition to everything else that he does, but if he was talking about the UFL, there's no question that's a boost. And there's no question that your mom knows who Tom Brady is. And when that happens, then that's when you start to get some juice on, as someone pointed out, that Philip pointed out, it's like, you hear this is fake football. Well, when you get real people involved that, have name recognition, there you go. Then people like Tom Brady could make that work. I mean, I would love to see it. I'd love to see it.
I have my hand up when you're ready to call on me.
Reed?
We have that right now with The Rock. You have the biggest person in the world, and it hasn't made a difference.
Okay. But as someone held a sign up at the St. Louis game when I was there, and I think it said like 15 home games, and we still can't smell what The Rock is cooking. Yeah. And so and that guy's been MIA, although I did see that he did say something about the UFL recently. But it's like, that's the guy but he's got to be out in front and center, So yeah, it's fine when he's a trophy presentation, but the season's over by that time, or the kickoff.
The Rock posted something over the weekend. I think it was about Memorial Day, but it was something about, like, for someone that uses social media as much as The Rock, like, it does kill me. Like, he'll post these videos like him, and it'll just be like 15 minutes long. And you're like, who is watching? Like, right. Like I'll watch. You got me for about 60 seconds, right? I'll watch sure. And whatever. But I'm like, he just sits there and talk. Anyway, he was talking the 1%. I think it was like the Memorial Day and the people. But I got Dwayne is 54%. Okay, that's the number that we need to pay attention to. It's not. It's that 1% is way more important, but the 54%, that's what you need to be talking about.
Someone brought up a good point there. The Rock in 2025 is not the same as the Rock in 2015, but he's still got plenty of star powers, not like he had.
Yeah, I just last comment on that. I don't know. To me, unless it's a favor by Fox and they're, like you said, they're saying, Tommy, like, we need to do this. It's been such. I think it's finally approved now, but that thing's taken like 3. I don't see any. Why would I even waste a second of, like, if I'm Tom Brady, why would I waste a second of my life on the UFL?
Well, and he might not. I mean, he could say he can be an owner. I mean, we're getting really deep in speculation, but he can be an owner and just say, okay, it's like a lot of NFL owners. Some of them should be more like this, where they just say, yes, I own the team. I'm hiring football people to take care of this. I'm the bankroll. So you guys go do your job and do it well. And then we'll evaluate after the season.
Yeah, it's been interesting to me, just kind of the video work I've done the last maybe year now, just dealing with a lot of these like CEOs that are like managing a lot of, and this is like The Rock, right? I mean, The Rock or whoever, Tom Brady or Danny Garcia, they're the CEO of their life, right? And I got to manage all this stuff. But, I get in this position, I got to be ready to go the second they sit down. It's like when The Rock's doing, you see these clips and The Rock's doing, they're set up. He's not like sitting there deciding, like, I'm not going to talk about the UFL. Like, he has his books and they build his time. And I'm just, it's not like he's sitting around like, it's, they had something set up for him to come talk about it or whatever. And he shows, and then they leave and they move on. They're not sitting there, any of this stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. It's all very, as you said, booked and rehearsed. There's no question.
Anything else on that? Anything else trademark? Anything else with that? We'll get to the games. Yeah. We did attendance. Oh, Mike has the 540,000 for the Friday night. Does that do anything for you?
It was a Friday night, before Memorial Day. Still, again, when you're getting into the $500,000 for the 500,000 viewer range on a network show, I don't, I mean, I see some questions that are nice and not bad, but that to me on a network, if it was on, ESPN on a Friday night before Memorial Day or FS1, I'd say, I mean, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But when that's on Fox, and this is, and to me, we talked about it last week, next year, assuming that UFL on Fox Friday night is a thing, they got to do flexing. They got to flex and give the fans 2 weeks. Say 2 weeks out, we can tell you that we're going to flex this game. It's going to be it's not going to be Saturday afternoon. It's going to be Friday night because you can't keep doing this. This isn't sustainable. You can show reruns of I don't know, whatever's on Fox. Family Guy. That's the only show I know on Fox. You could show that and get 540,000 people on Friday night.
Well, that was a joke we made. Was it on Saturday when they had the rain delay for the Memphis? And that's obviously why the attendance was so poor because the rain delay and all of that. But it doesn't. Well, it was that normally 6,000. I mean, I know we should have probably prefaced that like, okay, the rain delay and that was all because of that. But I'm like, they probably because they said like we're not going to let fans in until we decide what time the game is. I'm like, I'm sure they don't want to deal with getting those people out of there. Like, God, we got to let in 500 people and track and like, let's just wait. Let's just wait till we kind of figure out. I will say though, and I know I brought this up before, but when you're talking 540 on Fox on a Friday, the spring league got 418 in the mid Saturday afternoon. And that was Luis Perez and the Jousters and the linemen and
Hal Mummy lifting the trophy.
Yeah. No Rock or Danny or I just, there was just a simpler time. You tell me, you go back and you do the spring league and you roll it out and you do the two hubs. They were already getting ratings, and then you reward the hub. Then you go, because they were in Indianapolis and Houston, that was great. And then you go like, hey, Memphis, if you want that, or Birmingham, whatever. But then people have to earn it. Then you award the franchise versus like, well, we own the Oakland Invaders trademark, so we should look at that. Like, it's just not how you build any of this stuff. It's just not sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hope that there's some more research into the different cities that to make this work.
Last thing on that, and then I hate with that where they're like, oh, we'll see, like that worked in St. Louis with the scoring, so now we got to go to Oakland. I'm like, I don't know. I just. St. Louis works for more than just people hate Stan Kroenke. I mean, that's a large portion of it, but I hate this whole like, well, we just need to find a place that's been scoring and do it. Like, you haven't found anything else that's replicated the whole time you've been running any of this stuff. So I don't know why they think now.
And there have been a few places that have been scoring, and Oakland is one of them. And San Diego is another. But you have to make sure that it's financially viable to go in there, and that it's a football crazy place. St. Louis is a football crazy place. It has been for a long time. So that's one of the reasons that it works. That's one of the big reasons it works.
I like the what you just call it, a crazy football place.
It's that St. Louis. They're football. Yeah, they're football crazy there.
Well, I just like, what's it with that SNL? Like, we're just the wild and crazy boys. It kind of made me think about it. Like,
Steve Martin and Dan Aykroyd. Yeah.
Crazy football guys. All right. We're talking football. I'm pulling up the schedules, but here we go. All right. St. Louis, Phillips reminding us that the Battlehawks, that they won, all that stuff. I need to get the games up here. What did you make of the weekend slot while I get the games up?
Well, I mean, it was fun to watch because there wasn't a lot, there's not a lot on the line, although, Birmingham had a great game. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, Saturday, I was more invested into smoking ribs and grilling chicken. So I had to catch up on a lot of I only watched one game in full, and that was Sunday, because I watched the highlight cut down on I had the Birmingham game on in the background and watching it back and forth, but I watched all the highlight cut down later because, I mean, these games, they were interesting, but there's nothing on the line. And I think week 10 will be interesting because all these quarterback. I mean, I think you and I could go to one of these towns and probably play quarterback, and the coach would say, okay, that's fine, because I can't get anybody hurt that's going to the playoffs. I will watch, I think it's Arlington and San Antonio play. I will watch that game because I don't know how much longer we're going to see Luis Perez playing spring football. So, this might be the swan song. So I will watch that game.
I know it was, I think Anthony was really hoping that, why is this all? I need to get this.
Listen, the UFL site was being really weird earlier today at looking at schedules. Yeah.
Okay, let me get all the get because right, we were at the Dome, right? Really blew out the Brahmas here. San Antonio won on that. I think Mike we were doing the power rankings for Greg's stuff. I think he said there's really not a lot to talk about with Memphis or San Antonio anymore. I kind of agree with that. I kind of felt that way last week. Like, well, just don't know how you even kind of look here at this San Antonio with anything. What did you? I mean, anything really dug in? I know Pat Ruffino's really high on him still. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, today. Well, we got to see Brandon Silvers, so that was, and threw for 100 yards. It was interesting that, they put Kellen Mond back out there. I still didn't understand the whole, Kevin Hogan thing. So it was nice to see Kellen Mond back there. We had talked about this earlier. I think because the season is so compressed, we saw Kellen Mond getting better each week, but it was also maybe not rapid enough for for Wade and then for Pardee. So, but it was good to see him back. I always thought he gave them a better chance to win, but if it had been a 16-game season, it probably would have been Kellen
Mond. What'd you think of Brandon Silvers here? Kind of interesting. He got picked up a couple weeks ago, right? Because of injury and all that. And I mean, good for him because I think he was kind of, I don't know, jaded, or I think he was kind of done. I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's back here now. I mean, good for him, and obviously getting those checks in there. I mean, that's what you want to care at this point, right? Is players extending and being able to make money and do what they want as long as it's possible. But it's just kind of a good feel good story here for Friday night.
I loved it, and he made some great passes too. So it's like it's not like he was just in there taking up a spot so Max Duggan didn't get hurt. I mean, he made some really good passes. That was fun to watch some of the highlights of him when he got in the game.
We have a comment here. Perfect. I don't think you guys are a great team. Don't change it. Well, there you go. Appreciate it. I'm going to
screenshot that and leave it.
Like anytime anyone, like John, anytime anyone by Facebook Messenger has notifications, or like I post something on Twitter like that, I'm like, I just am used to just looking and having someone yelling at me. So it's nice to just like.
Do you understand why I'm not on Twitter?
Yeah. I avoid it. But John had a question here. So Party, he says he's watching the game. The Party made the game more interesting. I'll be curious. I don't know what, I mean, I think if Peyton Pardee wants the job, I think it's his job in the UFL. I mean, is that rude to say for the UFL?
No, I think that's true. He's also, I think he's part of there was some kind of coaches clinic in the NFL. I think Tampa Bay was doing something with that. So he's a future head coach somewhere. I mean, I think on a larger level, whether it's whether it's college or some, sometime way down the road in the NFL. But yeah, I think he's a really good coach that just, if he wants to be the San Antonio coach or coach of whoever next year, I think that opportunity would certainly be afforded to him.
It was kind of like when I got my my only job interview call after college, and I was so excited. It was my last day ever. And I had a voicemail from the news director in Bakersfield, California. And he goes, hey, whatever, like, we'd like to fly you down for the interview. Because he goes, can you drive from Spokane to Seattle? But there happened to be a direct flight from Bakersfield. There's Spokane to Bakersfield for God knows why. And so I went to my teacher and I told him, I said, I'm really nervous. I have this job interview. And he goes, if they're flying you down from Spokane to Bakersfield, market 132 for a news photojournalism, like you're not even on camera. Like, he's like, you probably have the job. You're probably safe as long as you don't have like something in your forehead.
You probably could have just driven the U-Haul down with all your stuff.
Yes, I like that. Anyway, do we feel good about the Party thing? Like Hines, obviously we want him to be good, but like, hey, we kind of, I don't know, for the better.
I mean, I think it was. I liked it. I thought it was a good story, and I think he's a good coach. I mean, there were some times, if you watched the Brahmas a few times, there were some things that he needed to learn. But there's no question that he might be better than a few other head coaches that are in this league right now. So, not a lot, but some. And I think that, I think that I think he has a really good chance. It was a great story, and as they pointed out there, it did make it more interesting to see like some of the things he can do. You just saw how excited when they did win that game. When they won, I guess it was his first game. Was it against DC? Maybe I'm trying to remember which one it was, but how excited those players were for him. So he had a connection there. Obviously, he was an assistant coach, but for everything that he went through and to get that battlefield promotion, I thought it was pretty cool, and I would like to see him stick around. But he may be destined for some other things.
Yeah, they said here, John, I think at this point they should keep Hardy, get a few more like him, provide opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's what it's supposed to be, right? It's a league of opportunity here.
That's what I keep hearing.
This is like literally what the UFL is designed for, right? Here's a special teams coach who got a promotion, and you do what you do at that point. I mean, you can't rebuild the team or go back in time, but I think at least the team's playing under him. I think that you got to feel good for him.
Yeah, I mean, people, and that was the thing. Like even on that Friday night game a couple of weeks ago, was the Memphis overtime game. They were playing for him. They had nothing to play for, but both those teams really, they were just they were just still balling, and it wasn't about like trying to get individual tape. They were out there playing as a team. That says a lot. That speaks a lot to a head coach.
Speaking here of a couple of teams with not a ton to play for here, we have your boy here, and we won't go deep dive. This was the rain delayed game and kind of all of that stuff. But what did you think of that? Why wasn't that? Am I making that up in my head? No, then the one was delayed the next day. There was 2 delays, right?
Well, this one was delayed for like 3 hours.
Yeah, and then one the next day got
we get the Sunday game was delayed. Well, it wasn't delayed. They kicked off at 4:00 Eastern time, but the Indianapolis 500. So I had to get on. I was on the Fox Sports app watching that, so which was nice that you could watch it, even though it was supposed to be somewhere else and I couldn't find it. It was a whole thing. But I watched on the Fox Sports app.
ESPN3. Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was still a thing anymore. I was like on ESPN. I was trying to get on ESPN app, and I just went to the Fox Sports app, and there it was.
Let's see here. So in terms of Perez, you say going back, you think maybe his swan song here. Just any general thoughts? Just anything on this game? Just while we kind of get through here, I know we'll have more thoughts on Stallions and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I thought I liked. Luis Perez is still playing, and I watched some of the of his post game. He's obviously disappointed, but it's the good thing is, and another reason that I'm watching this game, I think it was. Of course, if you watch my video, you'll know what the exact number is. I'm trying to remember. I think he needs like 293 yards to break his record from last year, and he's on averaging about 220, 230 passing yards per game. So that would be interesting to watch too. But yeah, I just this one to me, I would like to see a lot more of Dresser win. I understand they want to put EJ Perry out there. A lot of these guys are trying to get them film, and it makes total sense. And we even had a Holton Ahlers. I asked Pat if he's going to put Holton Ahlers in his top 5 now because he threw a touchdown pass.
Well, and then he was like on. I saw some video of him like talking to the crowd too. I didn't know what was going on with that. Yeah, he had quite the weekend. I think he was pretty excited.
He should have been excited. That was probably the most. I mean, he's usually Mr. Handoff King there, and when they run that package, that like weird T formation or whatever it is they run. So he threw a touchdown pass.
Is this the last we see of the Showboats? Do you think they're back next year?
I don't think so. I don't know unless something drastically changes or the UFL like really has some. They really do get the owners or something. It's hard for me to see the Memphis Showboats coming back, and I hate it because it is a good venue down there. They've done everything right. They've gotten out in the community. I think they said it was like 20,000 hours of like before the season even started that they were out, talking to all these, different, like really getting out and connecting with the fans. But there's a disconnect somewhere. And again, I think it might go back to what we were talking about earlier. There was a hardcore group of fans, but the problem is there are a lot of fans that remember every flirtation with every league from the World Football League on in the mid-'70s to now, and they've gotten burnt every time. So maybe there's something there. So it's really hard for me to see if things continue the way that they continue, that there has to be some kind of change there. And I hate to see it because I really liked what I thought was going to happen this year.
In terms of Abdul's got a couple of funny comments, and he's always funny on the chat.
Of course
when
he does.
He'll be like, "Well, Memphis only needs like 27,000 more fans next game, and they'll still break the record from last year and all that stuff." But Pat called me the other day. Pat Ruffino, Analyze and Educate on YouTube. One of the weekend days, Dorothy was out. And we were talking because the story was Pat was at a gym and someone had a Battlehawks shirt on. I think they had gotten it. Maybe he's told you the story too. They got it free and they didn't know what the Battlehawks were. And then
No, I have not heard this one.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I assume Pat is okay with it. Pat texts me right now. If I'm not, it's not really that big of a story, but the guy had a Battlehawks shirt on, and Pat's like, "That's awesome. Like, what do you know of the team?" And he's like, "Well, I think like I got this at work. Like, I think they were here back in 2020 and whatever." And Pat's like, "Oh no, like they're back now." And he's like, "Awesome." And Pat's like, "Well, are you going to go to the games?" He's like, "Probably not, but that's cool." Like, and moved on, right? And and Pat, this whole thing, because we get through all this, and like, I don't. This is a spur of my conversation, like. Some of these markets, I don't know how you sell them, or I don't know, like San Antonio this year with the 4 home games. I don't know how you sell 4 home games. I don't know how you sell, and I don't know, I'm just brainstorming, we saw the hub stuff and everything, do you do a longer season and then can you double up some of these games? I mean, even the CFL, right? You do 9 teams, but they play forever. Like, I don't know if that is long-term more of a thing. I just, down the line, because then at least you can sell more than 4 games, or like, oh, here, buy 10 games for your team, or I mean, it's just an impossibility.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt, I don't think, to have a 12-week season, maybe, especially if you ended up with 10 teams. And if they do actually end up expanding by 2 teams, that's not a bad idea. The problem is I still haven't figured out what's going on in Birmingham, and I've been taken to task on this a few times because people say like, well, you didn't count, there were only 4,000 people there for Mother's Day. And I was like, yeah, the UFL did not do them any favors. But even if you take that out, this year, their home games averaged less than 10,000. I think it was 9,800 minus the alleged 4,000 that were there. It looked like more about 400, if that, at that Mother's Day game that the UFL totally hosed them on. So that was another, and being down there, we've talked about it before. There are people in Birmingham, which you would think would be, that's football city, and has been the alt football capital, that don't know that the Stallions are there. So yeah, there's a disconnect with marketing or something that's going on in a lot of these cities. And as you mentioned with St. Louis, yeah, there's a lot of, it's organic. A lot of it's organic because they like football and they hate Stan Kroenke, and that all works. And they've got a great venue to play in.
Well, it's also been 7 years. I mean, it's, or whenever they announced, 2018 with Vince, and then whenever they announced the teams, I don't know if that was later in 18 or 19, but like, it's just been forever there. Real quick on this, because we'll get off tied at the top of the hour because I got the boogie. We did have a couple of Darren. Michigan seems to have the secret sauce to approve in attendance. Anyone from Houston, because Chop here goes, Houston, Birmingham, and Memphis are embarrassing. Well, what's the difference? It's because Michigan is quite good this year. I mean, I know that doesn't help Birmingham, but they I feel like they're at least been now. I mean, obviously, I say that with the Stallions being 6-3 as well, but at least it feels like they have given more of a reason to kind of get behind that team.
I think that's a lot of it, but also, you're right. It's like Birmingham won 3 straight championships. What more can Skip Holtz and that team do to get people to turn out for these games? And it's like, what? And yeah, you're right. You're getting burnt. You're going to get burnt every time if you're, for the Showboats. And I think there are a lot of people who say like, well, if we relocate these teams, it's going to hurt the league. To me, if you don't relocate at least a couple of these, it's going to hurt the league. And I don't know that there's a win-win situation either way. But having a good team no doubt helps. But it just seems like even early on with Memphis, they weren't getting the turnout, even when they had hired Ken Wisenhunt, and it looked like this was going to, of course, that first week he didn't coach and he came back, and that was that whole situation. But even when the slate was clean, it just didn't seem like that was connecting to the community, no matter how hard they kept trying. And, we've talked about it before. Andy Seeley and that group down there has done such a good job with, the community, with media. It's a great setup. It's a good venue. I know a lot of people might disagree. I thought it was a good setup for spring football, but I just don't know what it is, and I don't know what the secret sauce is that Michigan has, unless it's, I don't know, having a good team.
I will say, and Chop has this that good last year. Jake Bates put them on the map. I know they had that.
Yeah.
They had the Jake Bates bubble, which I think is awesome because as far as I know,
that's cool.
That's the first, UFL or XFL, or kind of the modern time.
Right.
But I will say the league has not had any viral moments this year like that. I mean, even the Pizzagate stuff with USFL 22.
Right.
But I mean, at least that got it in the. There's been nothing, and not that the gameplay has been good and everything's been fine, but there's been no, like, you have to watch right now that, like, again, it's like no respect to Luis Perez and Jordan Teamu and these guys. Like, no one's saying, man, you gotta like Luis Perez, man, you gotta watch, you gotta turn. I mean, I know we love and respect, but it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, and but the problem is you're not going to get a lot of maybe even bigger name players like Max Duggan. That's a guy who was a Heisman runner-up. But are people talking about him outside of the UFL? I don't know that's the case.
It's also this weird, and like you said, my mom's the perfect example. It's just the American football condition where, like, the second the player graduates from college, if they didn't go to my team, like, I don't care about them anymore for the most part, and it's just, it's weird. It's weird, but that's kind of what it is. Kimon said, yeah, John's off Twitter. He's off Twitter, man. I try.
I have not been on Twitter.
Oh, I think the joke is because you have your handle on your name. I think that's the
joke. Oh, that is, yeah, that's just you. That is YouTube and Instagram and Blue Sky. But yeah, that one's not going to be live for a while, probably.
I'll tell you, Blue Sky is. I go on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is dead. I mean,
dead. Yeah, it got hot. It was kind of like Threads. It got hot for a little bit and then just kind of disappeared.
Real quick here. So Stallions, right? We didn't know we got so Stallions here and all that.
Yep. That was a great game.
This was a great game. I watched this whole game through. I'm looking here, and I know he played well. Jamar Smith does not feel like the same team, and this might be my hatred towards Jamar Smith. But what did you make, and how did he play here? Because they still won, but to me, this is even bigger. They won with Jamar.
It is. I was kind of surprised that, to me, this leads me to think that Skip Holtz thinks that, Alex Magoo might be ready to go, like, coming up here. Maybe he'll see a little bit of time. I don't know. If I'm Skip Holtz, I'm putting all my quarterbacks in bubble wrap. Like I said, I think we could drive to I can't remember where they're playing even this week, but it's like, yeah, we could go down there and play quarterback because these guys can't get hurt anymore. He's gone through, was it 7 or 8 different quarterbacks so far?
I think it's 7, at least 7. Yeah.
But what Jamar was doing was entertaining. I mean, that was fun to watch. Like I said, I had it on in the background, and every time I look around, I mean, it was like, he just, 300 yards passing. That's pretty good. And, and then Danny Edley getting in there and, like, playing. So, I can understand why talking about bubble wrap, you want to keep Bryce Perkins in bubble wrap because that guy is he's fantastic. I just wonder if some of the rust, they might need to work him a little bit. I don't know. That'll be interesting to watch in week 10 to see if he even takes a snap out there. But Bryce Perkins, if he had not got hurt, I think he's battling Jordan Ta'amu for MVP.
It's hard this last couple of weeks here, and it's hard to get the CFL week 19 and week 8 of the UFL. Like, it's just really hard. I have my eyes on this one, but I'm like, I don't know how much we're talking about these games this week, John. Especially when Mark article came out, I'm like, okay, thank God. Like, I don't need to have detailed notes on the Showboats on ESPN3. Like, thank you for that.
Right, but listen, you got Luis Perez watch, so that's something.
Anything else? The last thing here I want to talk through real quick. Houston here against DC, and this game was kind of a weird game because DC is kind of they don't have a lot to play for with Houston. They Tamo didn't play the second half, and that's when I kind of tuned out because I had it on and I was watching the Mariners, and she asked whoever the sideline was. Yeah, they're like, Shannon, like, so what's the game plan with Tamu? Like, how much is he going to see this half? And he's like, we're not playing him. And they're like, oh, okay, thanks. I'm like, well, that kills my interest in this. But what did you make of this one? And I want to talk about the shirt giveaway at the end, but what did you think of this?
Well, Pat and I were texting a little bit about Mike DeLillo, and it was fun watching Jalen McClendon. I thought that I felt so bad for him on that what looked like it might be the final play, and still, like, God bless CJ. It's just there was just I always question, like, what are you talking about, and then why are you having other people have to tell you what to do? It's hard. That's hard to watch. I love seeing Jalen McClendon, though. I think I'll be interested to see. Hopefully I wonder what they'll do in week 10. I'd love to see him, play a little more. But yeah, this one was pretty interesting. And I just felt so bad for him, though, as he was trying to make an extra effort and he fumbled the ball. And then here comes, and he didn't need to do it. If they would have just taken a knee and then kicked a field goal or spiked and kicked the field goal, as the announcers continued to say, this game, it was basically over. And then DC drives, they drive the field and almost took it. But even Jordan Ta'amu was kind of laughing after the game because, they didn't have a lot to play for. And, Houston is playing for pride. And I think that's a prideful team.
It is just the weirdest thing, that CJ is like, hey guys, like, I only got one more timeout. Like, how's everyone doing here? Like, I don't want to have to use that timeout unless we have to kick a field goal. Actually, we should really try to score a touchdown here.
Because I want a touchdown. What?
Yeah, but I'm like, what is that messaging to your players? Like, you're like, because he's so used to having to kick the field goal, like in his head, right? I just can't. Okay, like, let's do the best we can till we get stopped or try to score here. Like, he is a weird. I like him. I like him as a hype guy. I just don't like him as a coach.
Yeah. No, I agree. He seems like a nice guy, and he was out there. He is a hype guy, but it's just to me that was surprising to me when Houston cleaned house with everyone. New GM comes in and he stayed there, and I was, we talked about it earlier in the season. We started watching them. It's like, what if you're sitting across the table and you asked him, CJ, why should you keep your job? Like, what would he say? And I don't know what he could have said after week 3 or 4. Granted, they got better, but it still felt like they were winning in spite of him rather than because of, some great play calling that was going on.
Yeah, he's a good yesterday. Here's the last thing, and I think I can do this, and then we'll get out. There was the note after the game. Excuse me. Sorry, I drank too much water there. I got the bubbles. They were like giving away all this merch, and Jenna had asked, like, from what I can gather here, it has XFL on it. It's like old merch. And so I think someone had said they were giving away St. Louis stuff as well. So there was some concern that they were giving away merch after the game. And that is my understanding. So if anyone else has a different understanding, it's just getting rid of old stuff that they don't want to sell because it says, and I think they might be abandoning that trademark. Like, maybe write an article.
You got $700. We'll pick it up. But I think you sent me this, and I do wonder if that was just that some other, we might see that in some of the home venues, this weekend of the non-playoff teams.
That would be my assumption. Yeah. I would not think that they would just like in here. Okay. Here's my rampant speculation before we get out of here is something's going on where they can't sell that because it has the XFL mark on it and they have to give it away. I guarantee what it is. And there's some sort of thing with something and they can't sell it and they have to give it away. And that's just because I guarantee you they'd sell it if they could. I mean, they discount it on the stuff. So no,
someone walked into a storage room and found a box of that and says, "Oh my God, we can't sell this, so we'll give it away."
Yeah, I mean, it's even stuff that goes on with like us or anything. Like the simplest answer is usually probably probably the right answer. Paggy something. Don't trust a man who wears the Crocs in attack mode. I don't know. That's the joke. Pat wanted to be sure. John, I appreciate it. We're heading to the Tacoma Rainiers game here for Wedding Network. Yeah. John, anything else from you? Make sure you use John's. I didn't talk off the top. JLS on Royal Retros. That's right. I was talking to Dustin even today. He was trying to get some work for the guy that helped me do my jerseys. So that would be cool if we work that out. So it's people helping people. But anything else you got from you?
No, it has been a fun season. I think there are some things that we can look forward to in week 10, but big time's going to be the playoffs. And I think there's going to be change after the season, but we will see. We'll end it on a positive note. I think these conference championship games next week are going to be really good.
Oh, I'm all in. I need Michigan to beat. I need Mike Nolan to beat. I can't deal. I can't have the Stallions. So wait, well, yeah. What would be your ideal, like, Defenders, Panthers?
My ideal
Well, you
championship.
want St. Louis, but I mean, I want DC.
I want to see St. Louis and Birmingham again. I mean, to me, I would like to see that. But again, as you know, my USFL team was Birmingham. My XFL team was St. Louis. And when we went to and saw the game, my wife just said, "You seem completely conflicted." And I was like, I just can't cheer for Birmingham to do badly, but I also, and I can't cheer for, I don't want to get beaten up here in St. Louis. So, but to me, I think that would be the best matchup. It was certainly a great regular season game.
Yeah, you might not make it through the game. So we need for your just like head to not explode. Anyway, John, I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time, and take care.